Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Carolyn Coker Ross. I'm still getting used to this whole Facebook Live thing, so excuse me for being clueless that I was already on the air. But let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about putting an end to emotional eating. Now, I'm sure you have scenarios of your own where you might um, want to point to as reasons why you eat emotionally, but one for me is, having a long day at work and then having to drive through traffic to get home and fix dinner and go to bed and get up and do the same thing over and over. So sometimes when I get home from work after a stressful day of talking to people all day about their addictions and eating issues, I'm tired, and that tiredness can then lead to emotional eating. It's not ice cream for me. My big thing is cookies, especially cookies that have nuts and chocolate in them. And that's when think all of my best intentions can fall by the wayside. So when the going gets tough, you may also find yourself turning to food to feel better. That's not uncommon. We've all done it, using food to soothe ourselves. So eating can be a way that we use to manage stress. It's not the best way because it has lots of consequences that we don't want. Um, but it is one of the ways. And it's also a way to, numb ourselves when we're feeling uncomfortable emotions. It can also be a way to celebrate. As we know, the holidays are coming up, so beware. This is when emotional eating is at its worst, right? But eating is a way to manage loneliness, stress, anger, anxiety, even sadness. And it can turn up the volume on happy times like celebrations. So, in the short term, we know that it works pretty well. Your mind latches on to an idea that a certain food will get you feeling better. And it does for a short period of time. But then that time is over and you're still stuck with whatever the feeling is that you were trying to get rid of. So, in the Anchor program, we talk a lot about emotions and being aware of our emotions because most of us aren't even aware of what we're feeling. We've spent so many years using food to swallow our emotions, to numb our emotions, that we don't even know what we're feeling anymore. So, that's something that is really, really important, is for you to be able to be aware of what you're feeling and be able to secondly find new ways of managing those feelings, because you know that the ice cream or the cookies in my case, they're not the solution. They're just a symptom of the problem. The solution is not food. We think that, and also we think that, the solution would be if I could just stop emotionally eating, then my life would be better. If I could just lose weight, then my life would be better. But it's really just the opposite. If you can get your life better, if you can learn to manage those troubling emotions, if you can learn to be more aware of those emotions, then you're less likely to overeat emotionally. So, as I said, everybody does it. We all fall into that habit from time to time. But when it's your go to, when it's your default mechanism, when it happens just so often, it puts you in that vicious cycle where you're judging yourself, you're, feeling bad about what you've eaten, and then repeat. So it's driven by a survival instinct that's deep in the human brain, which is to fill some emptiness inside of us. But the emptiness can't be filled with food. And that's the most important thing I can tell you today. And I'm sure intellectually you know that. But when you think about what the emptiness is from, I interviewed a guest on my podcast recently who talked about the spiritual hunger that many women are feeling, and they think it's physical hunger, but it really isn't. It's a search for meaning in our lives, and so many of us have gotten into careers or marriages or relationships where we have lost our purpose, where we don't experience that we're making a difference, or we don't have a sense of meaning. And often that lack of a sense of meaning, that spiritual hunger, and I'm not talking about religion here, I'm talking about just that spirit inside of you, that essence of you that wants something more, that wants to change. So, one of the things I always say is that any kind of eating problem or addiction is really a call to action. It's a call from your spirit, from your soul, to make changes in your life to address that spiritual hunger. So we think that food can satisfy the emotional hunger. It's like, as if a gnawing feeling of sadness is a void that we can fill with food, but we really can't. But emotional eating isn't definitely not going to fill that spiritual hunger. So, one of the things I'd like to do with you just for a moment right now is those of you who are listening in live or listening later, if you could just take a sec, make sure you're in a comfortable position, and just close your eyes for a moment and take 3 deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. On the second breath, I want you to count to 5, breathing in to the count of 5 and exhaling to the count of 5. And just do that one more time. And continue to keep your eyes closed. Continue to stay seated in a comfortable position and just ask yourself, if I were to eat for soul satisfaction, what would be different? If I were to eat, or you can expand that, if I were to live for soul satisfaction, what would be different? And just allow whatever bubbles up to bubble out. Don't judge it. Don't try to fix it. Don't have any negative self talk about it. Just allow it to bubble up. Okay, now bring yourself back to the room you're seated in. Take another deep cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And open your eyes whenever you're ready. Okay, so many people find that when they actually start to think about living for soul satisfaction, instead of trying to satisfy the scale, satisfying their spirit, their soul, that they would do things differently. And I know it's not easy to make these changes. You can't just have a 1 minute guided meditation and suddenly now I no longer have to emotionally eat. But it is a start, and it's a start in changing your perspective, because it's all about the mindset. When your mindset is, I can't be happy, I can't be healthy unless I lose weight or fill in the blank. What we want to do is to change the mindset so that you're starting to think about, what would your life be like if you stopped focusing on the number on the scale and started to focus on your spirit, your soul, going back to that essential part of yourself that's always been there and is still there, waiting for you to remember? And what would be different then?